So one of the decisions today was West Virginia versus EPA. This was a decision that, like all of the decisions we've seen in the last few weeks, is extreme in its nature and extremely unpopular. It's a decision to say that the Environmental Protection Agency cannot protect one aspect of the environment, and it substitutes the judgment of the scientists and technical experts at the EPA for the judgment of these 6 justices, 5 of whom were appointed by presidents who did not win the popular vote and who certainly have zero expertise with which to make decisions about how we deal with the climate crisis.
What are the ramifications from today's decisions in the next weeks to the next months to the next years?
So specifically, there are lots of paths to climate action, but we were at a position already with this crisis that we needed to explore all of them as fast as possible in order to limit warming below the temperatures that we need to in order to, to save as many people as possible. So we talk about limiting warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. It's jargon. It doesn't really matter. The point is we need to stop burning fossil fuels. What the Supreme Court said is that the Environmental Protection Agency cannot actually make decisions that would force reluctant states to move to renewable energy in the power sector. Now, there's a lot of pathways left to us. Like we still have the opportunity that President Biden and Congress could hold this court accountable, actually have a proper check and balance as the system is supposed to work. The Congress could still pass laws, that could pass climate laws. President Biden could take actions. Unfortunately, what we saw yesterday and today is that President Biden instead actually approved more oil and gas leases on federal lands, the opposite of what we need to be happening. And so we have got to turn that around. We also need state and local governments to be doing everything they can to stop climate pollution as quickly as possible.
If you were to give President Biden a progress report as related when it comes to climate change, what would that rating system be?
Well, it's pretty mixed. So we did have one really good thing happen, which was the use of the Defense Production Act to support renewable energy and storage and other technologies. But as I said, we really we're in a hole when it comes to the climate crisis, and President Biden's continued to dig us deeper in that hole by approving oil and gas leases and just by doubling down on fossil fuels. Unfortunately, the excuse for doing that has been the war in Ukraine. And that is outrageous because our colleagues, I work for Climate Action Network, our colleagues in Ukraine have told us over and over again that every dollar we spend on fossil fuels is falling on their heads in the form of bombs. Because this is a petro-dictator that we're talking about. Putin is a petro-dictator. So holding up the oil and gas industry, funding the oil and gas industry only makes the situation worse. And so it's hard for me to give a grade because there are good things and there are bad things, but I guess if I don't know, I'm not feeling very generous today because of the oil and gas leases. I'm gonna go C-.
What motivates you personally to protest and organize events like today to do the tour of shame and to raise awareness?
Well, I have a middle schooler, I have a kid, and I think that if we don't fight back, we're the majority of this country, right? The people who want climate action, the people who want reproductive justice, the people who want gun control, the people who want indigenous sovereignty, the people who want separation of church and state, we are the majority in this country, and if we don't fight back, then fascism is going to take over, and that's going to be the legacy that we leave our kids, is that we let militant white nationalists take over when we were still the majority. And I just don't see what choice we have as parents, and whether or not you're a parent, we are ancestors to the generations that will come next, whether or not we are parents. And it's our responsibility to make sure that we do everything we can to bend that arc of history towards justice, and certainly not let it bend so far the other direction as we've seen these 6 justices attempt to do in the last 2 weeks and try to do today in attacking climate justice.
For those who are looking to become more involved, what resources can you share for them to find online?
Yeah, there's lots of organizations you can join. Our website where you can sign up and take a pledge is armandarmforclimate.org. So it's armandarm4climate.org.
And for a final question, what message do you have for people to inspire them to become involved?
We need to. All the research shows that we need 3.5% of the population to engage in direct action. to get out of their comfort zone a little bit. It gets more comfortable over time. I started my career as in the science division at NASA, and now sometimes I even chain myself to things. It gets more comfortable over time, but honestly we need people to be willing to take some sacrifice and take some risk, and we just need 3.5% of people to be willing to do that, and that percentage of people has prevailed time and time again through history, whether it's like taking out Jim Crow laws or the Indian independence movement or the anti-apartheid movement. We as humans, we know how to do this, but it takes a small percentage of people to step up and take some risk and be like the freedom riders and the lunch counters and risk takers that inspire us so much today.
I do actually have one more final question for you. For those people who don't see climate change as a big deal, what message do you have for them?
Well, most people at this point have been in a situation where they have experienced a flood, an unusual event, some freak tornado or freak derecho, a freeze in their community. And I think that it's important for people to understand that people are hurting because of our addiction to fossil fuels. People are really hurting. These are real people. They're hurting because fossil fuels, the burning of them is causing direct harm. It's giving people asthma, and they're hurting because these impacts are terrible, and they're terrible around the world. And so I guess my message to people is just to understand that we're not out here because we want to be. All of us would rather do other things. We're out here because we're quite literally trying to stop people from dying, and we're trying to save humanity.